I'd like to call the meeting of the Terrebonne Parish Council Wednesday, November 17th, 2021 to order. And Mr. Babin, could you please lead us in a prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you. Would everyone please stand? Heavenly Father, we humbly ask that you bless all who are gathered in this meeting this evening. Please grant us your wisdom and grace to those conducting the business that will address the needs of this great parish. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Collins.
Roll call.
Mr. Navy, Mr. Harding, Mr. Michel, Mr. Amade, Ms. Domain, Mr. Darren Guidry,
Here.
Mr. Babin,
Here.
Mr. Dirk Guidry, Mr. Trosclair. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum present.
Thank you very much. A point of order. Miss Jessica Domain is currently attending her final retreat with Leadership Terrebonne, and so she is keeping abreast of the agenda items, but she wanted to let me know that that she is following all the agenda items and doing her final retreat, and she will be a graduate of Leadership Terrebonne. Distribute minutes of the regular council session held on November 10th, 2021, which we've done. Approve minutes of the regular council session held on October 27th, 2021. Moved by Mr. John Amade, seconded Mr. Danny Babin. All in favor say aye. Aye. General business, presentation by the Terrebonne Economic Development Authority Chief Executive Officer Matt Ruker regarding the Bayou Business Community Housing Initiative. Mr. Ruker.
Hey, good evening, and thanks for having me. I think Ms. Deming wanted me to just give a general
Is the mic on? Oh, you got to, the red button's on. You're on.
My
Go ahead.
apologies.
That's okay.
So, yeah, I appreciate y'all letting me be here, and I think Ms. Domain wanted me to just make sure the council was fully aware and kind of brief you guys on where we were on our little housing project we started. So about 2 weeks after Ida hit, all of the business groups got together to kind of make sure we were coordinating our efforts, both Lafourche and Terrebonne. Really kudos to Dr. Garcia and Mitch Marmon and Reggie Dupre for kind of making that meeting happen. But we met, and I think that meeting was an hour and 45 minutes or so to talk about all the issues surrounding the storm. And frankly, we never got off the housing issue. I mean, nobody could talk about anything other than that. The group was plugged in enough at that point to have heard some of the timelines that the public was looking at. And so we left that meeting knowing we were going to do something, but not yet knowing what we were going to do. And so that program went through a few iterations, but we reached out and through some partners, we were able to raise $1.45 million in just over 3 days and put together basically a trailer program after we had talked to some of the residents down there about the issues and whether we could do storage, what they liked and didn't like about the other initiatives they were seeing. And so they basically said, for us, it's going to be trailers or, it's not going to work. And so we heard that and put together a group of nonprofit partners that are doing work in those communities. And when we reached out to them, we said, look, here's how we want this to work. You're in the communities doing the work. We aren't going to tell you how to select people. We're not going to put any restrictions on how you manage this program. We trust your judgment. We trust your board. You give us names, addresses, phone numbers, and family size, and we're going to do everything within our power to help solve the housing need. And so 3 weeks ago, we started that program in earnest. As of today, we've delivered 20 trailers to families that, sorry, trying to not choke up. They're in conditions living with children, family members, disabled, senior, that I don't think people that aren't down the bayous realize it's happening. I don't think people around this country realize it's happening. I don't even think people in this state know that it's happening, frankly. And so I don't want to oversell what we're doing, but, it's a bit like drips of water into the ocean when you look at all the problems. I mean, I know we've got thousands of requests for trailers, but I think what's special about our programs and the partners we're working with is we're working our way up from the most needy, and pulling those folks out of those situations and giving them a chance. The other nice part about what we're doing is we're donating the trailers to the families outright. So when we're done with the process, the trailers will be titled in their name, free and clear, no liens. That gives them an asset they can use as a family, they can sell when they're done, and it gives them an incentive to take care of the property that's been donated. And so it's theirs, we let them know that. One woman asked me if she could bring the cat in the trailer. I said, it's your trailer, you know, whether the cat comes in or not, it's now your decision. And it's a blessing to be able to do this work in a lot of ways, and it's also heartbreaking because they can't fathom that someone would do that. And so if y'all don't mind, I'm just going to quickly run through our funding partners because I think they deserve a ton of credit. People thought we were a little crazy when we started doing this. I'll be honest. There was a lot of what the heck are you thinking? But the Community Foundation, first and foremost, you know, they kind of took a chance. This was one of their biggest grants, was to us. And, you know, they didn't know if we could pull it off or not, but they gave us a chance to prove it, and I think they're happy. Chevron stepped up with $100,000 to close the first group. The Chandamurray Foundation also gave us $100,000. That donation was the easiest fundraising call I've ever had. It was one phone call. He said, I trust some of the members of your board. I like what you're doing. Let's do it. He had a check in the mail the next day. Blue Cross Blue Shield gave us $250 with a commitment that they would look at some more for next year. For follow-on funding, and BHP, who funded our COVID program in 2020, gave us another $500,000. And so, you know, the importance of that, I think, is the credibility that we've built with the support of the council, with the support of the parish president. I know everything we do as an organization through TITA isn't always front and center, but I think this speaks volumes to the level of credibility we have amongst our partner base. And we couldn't do that work without the funding and support that you guys provide on a daily basis. So thank you. Thanks for giving us the ability to kind of do this type of work that's very rewarding and I hope meaningful to the community. Any questions?
Mr. Babin?
Matt, thank you very much for the good work that y'all are doing, and sometimes it's so much easier to do it outside of government than inside of government, okay? It just takes so long. Just a general question. From when you get a trailer in, to get it to, now I know it's been vetted, that you need to, you know where it's going. How long does it take you to get it on the property and the people in it? I mean, is that a number that's
I'm
difficult?
struggling with that question. I think I know where you're trying to go, but the way we're doing it is very much a build the car as you drive strategy.
Okay.
And I'm doing that because I don't want to set expectations with a family that I can't meet. This is their biggest need. And so if I call a family or have a partner call a family and say, you're going to get a trailer on Wednesday of next week, well, I have no control over truck breakdowns, a trailer disappears, you get into, God forbid I get into a wreck. Like, there's so much stuff out of my control. So we're not even scheduling that far in advance. I was on the phone today before this meeting, when I wrapped up today, talking to the partners about which families are in need for tomorrow. So it's a hard question to answer. So when I get the name, I'm doing it the following day. They get the keys handed to them. We're not hooking the trailer up because we're donating the property. So that's, the foundations are helping them a lot. The communities come together. You know, part of this is we call ourselves some of the most self-reliant people in the world, but we don't give them a chance to rely on themselves. And so what we're doing is saying, here's the asset. We trust you as people to be able to, get this done right.
Yeah, yours is a little bit different, and you know where I'm going with this. I mean, we all have stores. I see other lights on here, and I know I'm not going to try to steal their thunder, but we have people that trailers have been sitting on their property for 2 and 3 and maybe 4 weeks, and they're not in them yet. Now, if you've been living in a tent, you've been living in a car, you've been living in a shambled home, and you got a brand-new trailer sitting right there, and you can't get in it. I can't fathom that, okay? And I see it every day in the district that I represent, okay? And I know maybe people are getting tired of hearing us say this, but we're going to constantly say it. There's no reason in the world. If there's a breakdown with government, I know you would go to government and say, hey, Chris Pulaski, we held up here. If it's with Sleeka or Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, you're going to go to them and say, hey, we need this done. You're holding it up. I'm not going to speak about Entergy, okay, because I have no constituents under Entergy. But as early as today, someone with Sleeka contacted me and said, if they could just give us a little, if we could sit down with them, all of the partners, Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, Afton, whomever, and we better understand what they're doing, we could facilitate getting these people electricity hooked up quicker. And some of them, Sleeka's trying to work where they take the meter off of somebody's house that's not usable, put it on the temporary meter. They've had to go back because after a week, it wasn't hooked up. They had the power hooked up, but they would not give them the keys to get in, so they had to put the meter back on the dilapidated house for them to at least stay in. I can't live with that, okay?
Yeah, and if I could just make one interjection, you know, part of what we're doing is making sure that the batteries work and the propane works,
Sure.
because campers are meant to live off the grid at least temporarily.
Right.
And so, yes, we're not hooking them up and all of that, but we feel like they have a week and a half to be able to get that work done when we drop them off. And so maybe they can't live in them indefinitely off the grid. But again, people are resourceful, and these things are made to
Listen,
not
I'm not
be
trying
tied
to
in permanent.
advocate skirting the permitting process, because we do that for a reason, to make
Certainly.
sure that when the people get in there, it is safe and reliable for them. I don't want to skirt that. All I'm saying is I want to get that done quicker, okay? And if there is a disconnect somewhere, we need to find it. But the only way we're going to find it possibly is put all of those entities together and say, hey, this is the way we operate. And I'm just throwing this out there because I think every one of us up here are feeling the frustration of our constituents calling and saying, man, you know, you're letting us down. I mean, when am I going to get a trailer? We have to all say the exact same thing. It's out of our control. So, again, I applaud what you and Tita have done. There's some other groups that are doing it, as you and I spoke of, privately, and there's some other groups of people who have donated money where they're doing some construction work on homes, and thank God for that. But we still have thousands of people out there, not hundreds, but thousands, that need something. The winter time's right around the corner, and it just hurts every day when, you know, I mean, I hate to say we're getting immune to it, because we're not. It hurts just as much every time, but you hear it literally every day. So anything you can do to help expedite that, I sure would appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'm happy to work with anybody, and I think I have a decent understanding of public and private
Right.
issues. And I'll be honest, like, the reason we did this through the private is to be able to get around some really big hurdles. And
Yeah.
so I'm not going to sit up here and, you know, I don't know enough details of any of the programs to adequately even comment. But, you know, I saw some of those issues, and that's part of why we're donating them outright. It's part of, you know, it's a design process that we can do with private funding through a private foundation
Right.
that you can't do through a public entity. And so, you know, is there some benefit of speed in that? Absolutely, you know, and I think there's good people, at least at the local level, doing this, but, you know, you're fighting a beast.
Well, I know that we've been saying these same things up here for 4 or 5 weeks now, okay? And I'm not going to say we haven't gotten more trailers out, but proportionally, it's not any better now, it seems like, than it was before. What hurts is a lot of people don't realize that all the trailers that we have at the Civic Center are not necessarily all for Terrebonne Parish, okay? But people pass there every day and say, God, why can't I get one of these trailers? But again, how do we disseminate information in Terrebonne Parish? It's very difficult, okay? So in any event, I'll get off my soapbox and let some of these other guys do it. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Mrs. Trosclair.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Basically, you answered the question I had my light on for, and that was just, I wasn't sure if you guys were hooking them up and they're not, or not, and I know you're not now. But I just want to kind of touch on something that Danny brought up, about people having trailers in their yards for a week, 2 weeks, and can't get them hooked up. I got a call today, an interesting call today. A lady got a brand new camper. The final inspection is all hooked up. Final inspection came out today. The water heater's leaking. Not today, 2 days ago. The water heater's leaking. She's been jumping through who. He told her to call Aptum. Well, Aptum's the ones hooking it up. I don't know who's doing the inspections. And she gets run around after run around after run around. So for 2 days, she got a trailer. It literally is ready to go, but it's got a water leak and she can't get in it. So, naturally, I made some calls. I talked to Mr. Pulaski. Hopefully, we can get something moving quick. But I mean, she's already waited all this time. It's rare. Talk about a tease. That's a tease. It's there. You can move in it, but you can't.
So look, again,
She's
not
getting-
defending, but even what we're doing, I delivered a trailer yesterday. I picked the wrong one up from staging. I took it to a family. They plugged it in. There were issues. Luckily I got a call. We were able to fix the problem today. But that's the reality of dealing with these trailers is they're not going to be issue free. And if that's the expectation, you're going to be chasing your tail. You just got to be able to nimbly solve these problems.
You guys are putting out new campers?
New and used.
You and used, okay. And that was the response she got from the inspector, that it was a manufacturer's problem. She had to call the manufacturer.
Yeah, again, I'm not saying that's the right answer for the solution, but, you're going to have issues, and it's heartbreaking. It really is, because this family waited and waited and waited. Then you put something there, and they still couldn't sleep in it, and it's sitting on their property. And I had to go home last night because it was too late to get to. And so, look, you got to move as quick as you can. You got to be flexible.
On top of all of that, I want to, extend my appreciation to Chris Pulaski and his group, because those guys are working their butts off, taking a lot of mostly negative calls, problem calls, trying to get this stuff resolved, and he stays on top of it. So Chris is doing a fantastic job, in my opinion. I think I can speak for the rest of the council up here, and his group. They're doing a good job. 99% of stuff's out of his control, but he does follow up, and he does push as hard as he can push. So thank you, Chris. Thank you, Matt, for everything you guys are doing.
Thank you.
And Matt, the great thing about your program, different than the program that Mr. Trosclair is speaking about, is, they're supposed to call the manufacturer to get it fixed for a home that they don't own. Your program, at least they own the home. So yes, if it's not working, they call the manufacturer, they're repairing their own home. So there is a difference there in those two programs.
Yeah.
Mr. Guidry.
Yeah, Matt, I appreciate what y'all doing, and I would hope that you would give your partners a call that got these trailers together, and give them big thanks and kudos from the Terrebonne Parish Council. These people need a place to live. I mean, it's 70-something days, going on 80 days, where they're living in their cars and tents, and I know how you feel when you say, you get tears to your eyes. I feel the same way, and I've had tears coming down my eyes. I've had tears coming down with a few people in here, crying to them about the way the people that I represent are being treated like animals, You don't treat a dog like some of these people are being treated, and it really hurts, because I love my people. I love the people I represent with them, and I'm interacting with them every day, And I know you have nothing to do with Aptum. You have nothing to do with FEMA, but some of us are bringing our concerns about this, and we have to, when we have the stage and we have the spotlight, we have to bring it out and try to let the public, the state, the nation, and the world know what kind of cruel conditions that these people are living in. A lot of these people probably sitting in this room have never been down these bayous and looked to see how these people are surviving. And that's what they're not living, they're surviving, and they've been surviving for almost 80 days, I got, and I know it's nothing to do with you, but I got Aptum that delivered a trailer a month ago still sitting in the yard. Nobody ever came. The trailer's sitting there, you know? And I got people calling me every day. FEMA's turning me down because I live in a flood zone. I talked to Chris Pulaski about that. But I got people that were told that again today. You can't have a FEMA trailer because you live in a flood zone. So what am I supposed, I can tell them, hey, all I'm telling them, go to FEMA and tell them that they damn lying, you know what I mean? Because I'm tired of hearing that FEMA says you can't have a camper. So what are we supposed to do up here? What you know, I just don't know anymore, you know, and it really, why it gets me is because I feel for these people, you know? If, you know, all you got to do is drive down there and look, you know? I mean, I know Homer's had a lot of damage, you know what I mean? And I'm not taking it away from the city. But when you go down there and there's only a half a house, or there's no house, there's just cinder blocks sitting right there where the house used to be, or the trailer's split in half, you know? And these people that have elevated homes got a tent made with blue tarpaulins, you know? That's what they got blue tarps for, not to cover their roof, to make them a house. And it just hurts to see that these people are still suffering that way, almost 80 days. This is the United States of America. We got people crossing that border illegally. We want to give them $450,000. We can't give these people down to buy a $50,000 trailer to live in. You know, it's sad. You got people come from Afghanistan. We built them a tent for 5,000 people in a couple of days. We had the COVID. We had the federal government come and build big-ass hospitals in 2 or 3 days. But we can't get people down these byes, down in this parish, even in the city. We can't get them nothing. It's a sad situation. But listen, please tell the people that helped you raise money for these people that from Dirk Guidry and this whole council, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
And Mr. Guidry, if at a future meeting, I think it would be appropriate if the council wanted to pass a resolution thanking them. I could help arrange that,
yes,
because
for sure they need to.
I mean, this has not been part. I mean, unfortunately, I've been part of recovery processes, and this is the first private sector kind of housing donation program I've seen. And so I think they ought to be applauded for kind of taking that chance and believing that, you know, a guy in a truck can actually make a difference in people's lives. And, you know, it doesn't seem like a lot unless you're that family. And then it seems like everything.
It doesn't. You don't think it's a lot, you know what I mean? But hey, even if it's a used camper or a junk camper, it's better than living in the backseat of a Toyota, you know what I mean? So, thank you.
Thank you.
In doing a resolution, I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's a great idea. You know, I get phone calls like Mr. Guidry, and you explain to them the situation, and they're like, well, what can we do? And it's like, well, you know, we're working together with our state delegation. We have a microphone. We need to tell the people. We had a story on WWL yesterday about the issue. We need to let more people know about the situation here, and, you know, these roadblocks have to be removed. Mr. Amity.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And, you know, Matt, going back to your partners and how much we appreciate that, we appreciate the path that you guys have chosen to take, because you could have easily gotten caught up in the bureaucracy, but you didn't. And it's because you went down there and you looked and you saw and you figured out a unique way to get around government. We don't want everybody, you know, thinking that government's a real bad thing, but government has its rules. You know, the people wanted transparency, the people wanted accountability. Well, that slowed the whole process down, because now we got to jump through so many hoops. Business gets a bad rap, and it's exciting to see that these businesses are taking their profits, which people say they always put in their pockets, but we see a lot of times, you know, the oil companies are out there growing grass in the marsh, saving the coast. You don't always read about that stuff. I'm sure they really didn't want attention on themselves for this as well. So I want to thank you and thank your partners in what you're doing for that. I would love to tell everybody, go take a ride down there and see for yourself, but I don't want them getting in the way. But one thing that we've done is we found the media and took them on a tour and let them spend the day with us as we were out helping people. We can't get the big boys in. They're all busy fighting something in Washington. But a lot of these independent journalists who write for Washington Post and other NOLA in New Orleans, we've been able to get them, people who do podcasts, because we have to keep attention on the problem. If you let the people look the other way, then the needs will never get met. So that even speaks more of the fact of what you guys are doing. And when, like my constituents, my colleagues were talking, when we have a microphone, nothing's directed at you. You just happen to be standing there. Candace gets the same thing. Everybody that comes up here gets the same thing, because while we have the microphone and the attention, we want to point out the things that we feel are necessary to point out. I don't have to add any more, because these guys have said pretty much all of it. I just want to say, again, thank you for y'all, and that's what I like about you, Matt. You've got some really unique approaches to how things get done, you know, with the Indian relocation and the other things that you're doing. I just have to say that as much as we're glad that Chris Plasky is handling his part, we're also as much glad that you're handling your part, especially with TITA and all the things that you're doing. So, again, just want to commend you guys on what you're doing. Shed a little bit of light on them. I know your partners really aren't looking for that, but like Mr. Guidry said, it'd be a great thing to recognize them for going above and beyond. So
Thank you for saying that.
every time you see them, you can remind them that we're appreciative. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you. To piggyback off Mr. Amity is the fact that, you know, I appreciate you, you know, our relationship that we have, and your knowledge and your ability to take each individual council district and really do what's best and have a good conversation. I don't want to take away from the benevolent hearts the contributors, you know. But also there are a number of contributors that are on a smaller scale in different aspects. And when you said, it was said that everyone, not just people within the urban port and the northern port and all over the United States, should be aware of what's going on in Terrebonne Parish in certain sections. And I'm very touched by a number of aspects that within my district, and I've seen in other districts that is approaching us, and we understand that, like Mr. Amity also said, we've had a lot of people say, well, we're going to stay in Terrebonne Parish, and y'all don't give us a break, we're going to move somewhere else. And I'm not taking away for those that didn't give. I'm pretty sure someone had made some type of contribution. But I'm glad you mentioned these people's names, because I was going to mention it, because I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart for whoever's getting the trailers. But if you're going to do business in Terrebonne Parish, and then the chips are down, and you not going to come out in the public and make a contribution to the public, I'm going to say this, I'm going to be nicer than what Mr. Gibbs said. If you come in front of that podium and you want to break from this council and you doing nothing to help the people from Terrebonne Parish, but then that type of people, me in my heart, I don't want you in Terrebonne Parish doing business here. Because if everybody's not chipping in and you wanted us to give you a break within Terrebonne Parish so you can do business and cutting us short on doing that, I don't believe in that. If I'm not into so much politics and who provides services in reference to electricity, I think it's wrong. There's a process that's being done, but I don't want them coming in here with a bunch of actors, you know what I mean, that's paid off to make something look good and not doing their job. So, you know what I mean, if they don't want to show up, there are other methods that we can actually have. Again, I appreciate the private organizations. I appreciate Mr. Patrick Johnson, way out of Texas, and Reverend Tobard out of Mississippi. So there are a lot of people that's outside this parish are doing a lot. So we appreciate what you're doing. Again, always Mr. Pulaski over there, you guys have done a wonderful job, and you'll help to me. One more thing, and I'll finally say this. on my way here and in a couple of cases that I've had, it's not just housing. It's mental issues. There's a guy I passed by that he's been in the same place going on within a 2-block area, and he's moving, and he got a bunch of trash, but he's in his own zone. I was at one of the shelters, and a lady, she was somewhat dysfunctional. There are a number of other effects that's stemming off from this particular hurricane that we actually have, and we as a community, whether we're going to work with the business or whether it's private, we have to be upfront, as I'm always is. It's the fact that a spade is going to have to be a spade, and the club is a club. And in order for us to do this, we have to do the right thing in Terrebonne Parish. And if you're not doing the right thing in Terrebonne Parish, we have to kick them to the curb. I'm sorry for being that way, but then I appreciate that much of this donation that they have. So, you know what I mean, those that are sitting on their fannies, you know what I mean, don't come in front of that podium in front of me. No favor.
Well, I'll just say this. We made 5 asks. We got 5 donations. We had to quit raising money so we could go execute the program. Right? So we're talking to a group now that may make a contribution. And, you know, we've received just frankly a lot of individual donations, which I'll be honest, like $500,000 lets you do stuff. The $100 and $200 just feel good, man. Like people believe in your mission, people back in your work. They see the difference you're making. And look, to your point, Mr. Amity, I mean, we're trying to tell the story as well. I mean, if you're following on Facebook, we post a story about every family. We try to show the pictures of what these folks are living in and kind of what the new situation is. And, you know, we've gotten a little bit of news coverage mostly from the New Orleans and Baton Rouge market and gotten some good feedback from there. We've had a lady from Iowa that's she heard it on the radio. She called, she looked up our phone number on the website, called me. She wants me to hot shot her camper down so she can give it to me to get to a family. We're trying to figure out if that's doable. But, you know, it's been, I think, telling the stories, and again, to your point about raising money, like, we're going to probably kind of put a hold on Big Ask for this program, because by the time we get this done, we're hoping that we're into longer term recovery programs that we can pivot into. And so we're looking at what phase 2 looks like for TITA and long-term recovery. So I know that comes up in conversations individually, but we're thinking about that now.
Thank you again, Matt, for what you're doing and the difference that you're making. And of course, for the general public, of course, yours is a private donation of the travel trailers, which is not to be confused with the state program, which is being administered through the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness by the engineering firm Aptem. Now, I don't know if anybody from Aptem is here. We invited them to come to our meeting. They couldn't make it 2 weeks ago because of the rain. Is anybody from Aptem here? Okay. Well,
Let the record reflect I'm not with Aptem.
you're not with Aptem. That's because you're here. But thank you very much. Oh, go ahead.
Just one
Mr.
quick
Babbitt.
thing, you know, I said earlier, how do we disseminate information here? I mean, we're on HTV right now, and I think Morton's television station does do a good job. I think our local newspapers ought to start putting Homer on the front page of the paper and maybe not on the 5th or 6th page in the paper. If they started doing articles on a daily basis about what's going on here, things may catch on. I'm not in the the print business, okay? But as we said earlier, we gotta keep promoting Terrebonne Parish and what we need down here. And I just think we're not doing an adequate enough job, okay? And I don't have the answer, but I think collectively we could probably come up with the answer. So, again, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Let's move on to B, to review the 2022 proposed budget for the following departments and agencies. Ms. Candace Malden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just to remind you guys what's happening, we will have our last round of budget hearings tonight. The next set of committee meetings, if there is any recommended changes that the council would like to submit, we will vote on it that Monday night. The committee meeting, yes, sir, the 29th. And then the December 1st meeting, we will adopt the 2022 budget. Okay, so we are going to start with our general fund. The first one is the parish council. On page 58, our budget highlights include the ordinance adopted in January 2013 established the new salaries for the council members and the council chair. Council members is 1,422. Council chair is 1,600. We do have capital in the account to upgrade the council meeting room for the equipment that's needed for the live streaming and update some of those cameras and microphones.
And just to let the my fellow council members know, the vendors have put together some price proposals to upgrade our cameras, and they keep calling me about it, and I keep telling them, call me back until we actually get into the council meeting room. There's no use even discussing the camera upgrades at this point. So that's, it's there, but hopefully we will be in it shortly after the first of the year, and we'll work on that. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Next is going to be your council clerk on page 60, and there are no significant changes to that budget. Your official fees and publications on page 62. We have our membership dues for 2022. The Louisiana Municipal Association, $12,487. The Metropolitan Law Enforcement Commission, $3,545. National Association of Counties, $2,237. Police Jury Association, $12,000. Parishes Advocating for Coastal Endurance is $10,000. Parish Presidents of Louisiana is $10,000. We also have our independent audit fees. It's $215,000, which includes a $3,000 increase. And then we have our published proceedings. This is going to include any minutes, public notices that need to be published, and that is $28,000. Next will be our city court. This is on page 63. In the budget for 2022, we are eliminating one court compliance supervisor, and we are eliminating one deputy clerk. And these are open positions that we are eliminating, so it's not currently filled positions. Moving over to district court on page 65, there are no significant changes. Then if we move over to page 67, which is our district attorney, again, no significant changes. The clerk of court, which is on page 68, it is a capital request for $18,400. So it's 4 scanners, 4 printers, and 10 computers. Ward court, which is on page 70, we have wages that are paid to the justices of the peace and the constables, and it includes their state supplemental pay, which is reimbursed by the state monthly. We also have the requirement that every justice of the peace and constable shall attend at least one training course with the Attorney General every other year pursuant to the state law. Next is going to be the judicial other, which is on page 71. Act 1031 of the 2003 state regular session amended the state law to increase the daily compensation for serving on a jury. So to increase the jury filing fees in civil cases to the clerk of court, and to increase the amount deposited into the registry of the court, and to provide for an additional fee in the criminal cases. So for 2020, that should be 2022 court warrants are budgeted at $70,000, which is a $5,000 increase from 2021. Moving over to our parish president department, which is going to be on page 73. The personnel we have, in January 2013, the ordinance was passed to establish the compensation of the parish president effective upon the term beginning in 2016. And it is the annual salary is computed as the average salary of the parish sheriff, clerk of court, and the assessor, and this is certified annually by the human resource director. We also have a capital request of $18,000. It includes a video editing computer, a video camera, and a rack mixer. So most of this is with those PEG funds. That is actually part of the council room as well. We will then go to our register of voters on page 75, which has no significant changes for 2022. On page 77 is our general elections, and there are no significant changes there. Next will be the accounting finance department, and we have no significant changes to the budget for that department. Next is our customer service department. On page 82, we have a capital request for $29,000, and this includes one truck for our mail runner as well as one copier. On page 85 are our legal services. You'll see that we have the parish-wide legal services chart here, which are not all included in the general fund. So what's in this budget for this fund and department is just for this general fund. The total is what is for all of the other departments that pay part of their legal fees. We also have the legal assistance to low-income persons for $30,000, which is the same as 2021. Our planning and zoning department, we have one personnel request to add one additional code enforcement officer, and we have the capital request of one additional truck for that code enforcement officer.
Mr. Babin?
Candace, I'll direct this through you, but I really, Mr. Pulaski, is one, with everything that's going to be going on over this next year in terms of permitting and inspections and stuff, is this adequate to add just one more, or do we feel like we might need to add two more?
I'll let Mr. Pulaski answer that for you.
I mean, we're talking about expediting things,
Well, obviously, we put this together before August 29th.
right.
We have, in our department, I have open positions that are still open.
Okay.
So this is one additional person, but this is the planning and zoning department, which does include the building permit, the regulatory division. I think we can handle this with the staff that the makeup, the organizational chart that we have, if we have all the positions filled. You know, like I said, we have open positions right now on the parish website if anybody's looking for a job. But I think, you know, one of the biggest lifts too is going to come on another department, which is the code violation department. And we've expanded that staff and capacity greatly. So if we need to pull any of those, if that passes, the code violation expansion, if we need to pull any of those folks over to the regulatory division side to help, we certainly can. And we've also been able to utilize other folks in other departments and divisions as necessary. But I think once things really get settled in, I think we'll see where we are. I don't think we're going to have a problem with the capacity. But if we do, chances are we're going to be finding monies through funds coming our way, and we could create positions and come back with budget amendments once the position's funded.
I just wanted to make sure, because a lot of this was done, as you said, prior
Yeah.
to the hurricane, and now at 10 times, 20 times, 100 times the
Well-
amount of work that we're gonna have over the next year.
One thing Terrebonne Parish is fortunate is we have in-house staff divisions that a lot of parishes don't have. We're fortunate to have a ramp division, Jennifer Gerbasi and Caroline Calais. A lot of parishes don't even have that. They have to source that out every single time. So we have people in-house, so that, I think we're in a good spot.
Good, just wanted to make sure, Chris.
Yep.
Thank you.
Is that it?
Okay, so next is our government buildings. We have a capital request. One is for a pickup truck, and we also want to do the old courthouse upgrades for $58,000.
Now, on government buildings, one thing, I would like to request, or like the administration to consider a look at, when we do the insurance repairs to the government tower, we took over the first and second floor from the bank, but we never really did build it out. And I would like to request that maybe if we could devote some money to go together with the insurance funds and build it out proper so we could actually utilize some of the wasted space and maybe bring some more government together, I think that would be good.
Yes, sir. So we have talked about that since the first and second floor are having to be gutted and redone and all of this. I will tell you, I would suggest to not put it in the 2022 budget just yet. I would like to see what federal money we can get. The insurance and the FEMA is going to put us back to where we were. That's what we're starting to look for, is the money to help us to upgrade or to expand or, make it better technology and all of that. So at that point, we would know what we need and how we need it. I'd also would say we want to wait to see what the estimates are going to be so that we don't have to keep coming back with changes to the budget and, all of those things. So that has been discussed. It's not in here because we know we have insurance, FEMA, and then hopefully all this other federal money that's coming in.
Mr. Harding?
Yes, but oftentimes it takes some little time for FEMA to actually reimburse us. And what Mr. Guidry is saying, the length of time, hopefully what we can do with this budget, right?
But yes, sir, but if we start the work and we don't do it correctly and we don't do the procurement and all of that, FEMA will not reimburse us. So we still need to follow through with the insurance, and follow through all of those plans and all of those programs. We'll know at that point what it is going to cost us to get to where we were, and we'll also be able to get an estimate on where we want to be. So we'll be able to determine it at that point in time.
Yeah, based on the estimates, I guess.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Just one quick, and I see David in the audience, and he gave Dan and I a great tour a couple of weeks ago, and we spoke about those things. The word that I heard come out of your mouth, there are plans for it. So we are planning to upgrade the facility that we have, depending on how much money we get from FEMA and the insurance.
Correct. Yes, sir. So FEMA, when we get to right now, anything that we have done is emergency work. And I think, Mrs. Drury mentioned this last time. We're starting the process of doing the RFQs to get the engineers and the architects for us to do the permanent work. And that's when it's going to take a little bit more time, because that's when we have to follow procurement. We have to do all of the things properly so we can try to get FEMA to reimburse us. Even the federal money that we're trying to go get to, it's going to require the same procurement process that FEMA is. So we're going to start that process, and we'll have those estimates based on those processes, and it'll help us kind of work that way.
But once we hopefully get money available for that, then everything, the planning has been done, and it just expedites the whole
Right.
thing.
Hopefully we'll have everything in place, and when we know what money we're getting and where it fits and what projects we want to
Right.
do, we can move forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Malden.
Yeah. Okay, so next is your code violation and compliance. This is the one that Mr. Pulaski was just referring to. So on page 92, we're going to actually add one assistant director, add one code enforcement officer, as well as add one admin tech to this division. Next is going to be your janitorial services on page 94. the general fund share of the contract for the cleaning services.
But before we move on, the code violations, will these, will this group also enforce violations of servitude violations and things like that, or is that going to be done just by the, like, drainage, if it's a drainage servitude, or?
I think it's just by the drainage servitude and all that. This is mainly your nuisance abatement and grass cutting and all of that violation.
Okay, thank you.
So your janitorial services, the general fund share of the contract for cleaning services is $248,430. Our general other department on page 95 has no significant changes. The coroner's office on page 96 has no significant changes.
Mr. Babbitt?
Under janitorial services, no change, but is that supposed to be 2.8% or is 28%? Change over prior year.
So it's, okay, so the percentage change is 0.28. The 248,000 for the cleaning service, that expense itself didn't change. That contract is
Right,
not
but
changing.
you see what I'm looking at? It doesn't say .028, it says .28, like 28%. And I know it's not just looking at the numbers. My book says 0.28%.
Right, we're comparing the 288,000 to 287,000.
And that's what I'm saying, it's not 28%.
Yeah, but .28%.
It's 0.28%.
See, yeah, and I understand that, but I would think that it should have been written .028%. It looks like, to me, a 28%. I'm wrong. Yeah, okay.
I'll
Mr. Harding?
recalculate it for you and let you know.
Sometimes I have these lapses of memory. Okay.
Mr. Harding?
Yeah, well, no system, well, being that we went there with the previous one, then we look at, general and others, you know, no significant change, but then you got the 21% right there, 21.1%. And that's 20% of the difference. I mean, that's the increase right there, but it says no significant increase. I had it marked, but, you know, we're moving right along.
So the general other, when we're saying no significant changes, it's just your general increase, and this one mainly is for the allocations that go from purchasing and IT as well as the fleet maintenance. It's kind of a catch-all. When we do our budget highlights, we try to highlight, is there any type of law that is requiring us to do a certain expenditure or a certain cost? Absolutely any personnel. If there are contracts in place that have a significant change or not a significant change. So, you know, there are some things in there that is causing it to increase. It's probably just general expenses, and it would take too much to try to explain or try to put on the paper what's causing that increase. But I can definitely look into it and let you know for sure.
Mr. Almady?
Yeah, Ms. Candace, I can tell you that with our company and the work that we do as a mechanical contractor, we're experiencing 30% cost of material increases about every 3 months. So that's probably where a lot of that's coming in too.
Right, absolutely.
And I'm not trying to insinuate that it's wrong. It's right. I'm just looking at it as, like the one Carly just mentioned, 21%, and we see we go from 1.63 to 1.65. That's only $20,000. It's not 20% would be $340,000. Okay?
Well, when the percentage is comparing the 2022 proposed to the 2021 budget column.
Correct. But
So it's the 1.3 to the 1.6.
Okay, it's just numbers. Show me the money.
I'm trying. So did we do the coroner? Okay.
Yes.
No.
Yep,
Okay,
I
yeah.
think we were on engineering.
Well, we can do it. It's no significant
Do it,
changes.
please.
Going over to Public Works Engineering, there are no significant changes there. The Parish VA office on page 100, the parish supplements for the State Veteran Service Office, $23,991, and this is a $933 increase from 2021. On to page 101, our general fund other, we have the Veterans Homeless Shelter for $28,000. which is the same as 2021. We have the Lennox Hotard American Legion operating, $20,000, which is a decrease of $5,000 from 2021. And we have the Homa Terrebonne Marine Corps League for $25,000. If we move over to our animal control on page 103, we had a personnel request to add 1 full-time admin tech 1 and add 1 animal control officer. And we also have capital request of $53,200. So there's 1 capture dart gun, 1 animal control officer vehicle, 1 wall mount table, and some new countertops.
Mr. Amity?
Is Valerie still in there?
She's hiding in the back.
Yeah, they had a few people that were hiding. Just briefly, I mean, I've been by the shelter, and I've seen some of the damage to the gates and all of that stuff. Did the shelters have significant damage from the storm?
So good news is that the shelter itself held up fine. Our generator was down for 1 day. We had a gentleman from Oklahoma that just so happened to be sitting next to me who could fix the generator for us, so we were up and running. We sustained quite a bit of damage to the fence, which is the puppy panel fence is quite expensive. We had a guy come out today to one of the contractors that will be quoting for the repair of that. And then our patio cover that we just installed last year on the end of it. But other than that, no significant damage, so we're very thankful.
And Ken, is the damage there that's going to qualify under insurance or FEMA?
We'll do our insurance first.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms.
You're
Valerie, for
welcome.
all you guys are doing.
Sure. Thank you.
All right, after animal control, yeah, we did all of that one. After animal control is our Bayou Terrebonne Water Life Museum on page 106. They have some self-generated revenue through gift shops, concessions, commissions, rentals of about $2,100. We have an expense of publicity and promotions for $1,500, which is the same as 2021. On page 108 is our Publicity Department. We have holiday expenses and parades for $40,000, which is the same as 2021. Beautification program, $20,000, which is a $2,700 increase. The co-sponsorships for various events at the $25,000. The parish publicity of $300,000, and this is a big increase compared to the prior year. And the thought there was, once we start our recovery and once we start rebuilding, let's try to advertise to come and visit Terrebonne and see where we are. And we're open, and we need some people to come visit. The Independence Day celebration is $10,000, same as 2021. Rougarou Fest is $20,000, and various after-school programs is $35,000. One note on the after-school programs, this is actually something that will be funded through the American Rescue Plan, so it's not coming out of our budget or fund balance.
Mr. Michaud?
Yeah, why isn't that 300,000 going into economic development where?
I'm sorry to cut you off, sir, but the publicity money is usually coming from the economic development money that we have. It's just how we're reporting it. I just probably put it in the publicity department because we're advertising Terrebonne Parish.
All right.
Mr. Harding?
Yes, in the various after-school programs, you got a $5,000 increase. Decrease? That's a decrease, so it's down to $30,000?
No, sir, it was 40,000 this year, so it's a 5,000 decrease to 35.
Okay, I'm getting me down here.
Those numbers, huh?
Yeah, those numbers. But how many after-school programs did we have last year? That's
We
what I'm trying
have, we have one right now that we have been very successful with at the West Gym. And that's the only one that has been running and has been successful and has been able to keep the students and all that there.
Okay, so, that,
You finished, Mr. Harding?
yeah, I'm good.
Mr. Navy?
I think the other after-school program on the east side, that's funded through another source, though. The one that's with Gulf Coast.
Correct, yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir. That one is through a contract with Gulf Coast through the LaCerte program and stuff like that.
Correct.
Now, the 300,000, which is being targeted to visitors to Terrebonne Parish post-storm, is that something that's going to be coordinated through the Tourism Commission to have a common message?
I would imagine so. So the plan part of it hasn't happened yet. We've just kind of put the money in the budget. But I would imagine we would get with TITA and the Tourist Commission and any other, agency that has a take in it, probably, Downtown Development Corporation, and, advertise all the festivals and stuff that's going to happen throughout the parish.
And of course, those cooperative endeavor groups will come before us anyway, so we'll see that. Thanks, Ms. Moulton.
So the next is going to be your economic development. We have South Central Planning Commission, our $42,000 for the regional membership, $60,000 for the local match for the Urban System Grant Administration. TITA is a $400,000 budget, which is an increase of $27,500 from 2021. The African American Museum is $15,000. And the Aldo Jean Charles relocation, we're putting $200,000 in here. This $200,000 is not going to be an automatic check for the relocation. The way that they had planned it and the way it was set up is eventually they're going to have enough economic development to be able to pay what they need to pay and, pay the bills and the insurance part of it and all of this. We're just going to have this available, so as it's being built, if they need to draw down on it, it will be, and hopefully it will eventually be paid back to Terrebonne Parish. So it's not an automatic $200,000 check written for this relocation.
I got a question.
Mr. Guidry.
Didn't when this started, they had $47 million in there, or 40-something $million in this thing, not from the parish, but from the federal government to relocate? Why should we have to give them 200,000 if they
Matt
have
already
40-something
leave?
million?
Yeah, so Matt Rickard actually would be the one that could answer that question a lot better for you. Mr. Amity, I think you were in part of that meeting. It's to help with the initial onset for the homeowners, I believe.
Yeah, what it is, Mr. Guidry, they did, and as usual, they screwed it up.
Yeah, they blew the money.
All right.
Yeah.
So through mismanagement, from what I can see, so what they're doing is they're partnering with TITA to take it over, the administration of certain parts of it, and they're asking for a commitment from us to put a little skin in the game, I guess, to make sure it's done right, and I have all the confidence that Matt's going to make it done right. The new person from the state, she's a closer, and she's going to get things done as well. But as always, when certain departments get money, they like to study, and they overstudied it, from what I see from their budget.
Right, and I have no problem with them giving $200,000, but I just know that when they started this program, they had $40-something million.
Yeah, it was
you know?
like 47,
So
48 million.
they studied $40-something million worth of study?
Well, they bought the property, which
Yeah.
I think was 18 or 19 million,
Yeah,
and then they still have money in there, and this is just like we do with a match.
yeah.
It's similar to something like that, but I would encourage any of you guys, if you want to know the real details of it, to call Matt, and he can explain it better than I can.
Okay, I was just wondering why they needed 200,000 after they had 40-something million. Thank you.
Just one thing.
Mr. Babin?
But you did say this would probably be reimbursable.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and it's not like I said, it's not an automatic 200. There was also some talk, there is a portion of the property that may be able to be sold, some other things. So we're just saying, we were letting the state know, hey, we're committed as well to make sure that this gets moved forward.
And there was some talk about the retail up in the front of it.
Yes, sir.
Making money, more money. Those lots would naturally go for more than the other lots. So that was another revenue source.
Right, and that's what the main revenue source will be for that relocation. It's just gonna take time to get that revenue source there. So this is kind of just our commitment to say we're interested and invested in it as well. Next is our general fund, Housing and Human Services. We have no significant changes. Our parish farm agent, which is on page 113, is no significant changes. Our waterways and marina on page 114 is no significant changes. Our emergency preparedness on page 116 is no significant changes. And then we will jump over to our dedicated emergency fund next. And if you look on page 124, the minimum cap for 2022 is $3 million. The estimated fund balance at December 31st, 2022 is $3,018,468. So we're going to meet that minimum cap. Just to kind of refresh your memory, we had approved to use the dedicated emergency fund for the hurricane recovery. I have no doubt that based on our insurance money and the FEMA reimbursement that we will get this back up to the $3 million. It's just going to take us a little bit of time, but we'll have that revenue and receivable booked to get us there. Next is the Marshals Fund, which is on page 147. We'll actually look on page 148 under the budget highlights. We have a general fund transfer of $545,000, which is an increase of $169,912. And there is a capital request for new radios for $34,814.
I think there was some discussion, perhaps last year or so, about putting in the routine, replacing out some of the vehicles.
We have started that this year with them, and there is a plan for next year. When we got the American Rescue Plan money, actually some of that went to them for the replacement of their vehicles. And they have gotten some of our surplus vehicles to increase the date of their fleet.
Mr. Babin?
Yeah, $170,000 increase, tell me.
So the Marshals Fund, most of their revenue comes from the fines and forfeitures from the courts and stuff. Because of COVID, state troopers not writing tickets and all of that, their revenues have decreased a little bit. So the general fund is having to increase our transfer some more in order to cover it.
Because that's a big increase, but that's an explanation, thank you.
Next is our GIS technology, which is on page 149. In 2022, the taxing jurisdictions will proportionately be charged $230,000 for their estimated expenditures. The $230,000 plus interest will be used to help fund the Terrebonne Parish Utilities GIS Department as in accordance with an agreement between the Terrebonne Parish Assessor and Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government. If you look at our coastal zone management, which is on page 152, we have coastal impact fee collections of $90,000, which is the same as 2021. General fund supplement, $159,452, which is an increase of $26,000. And we have a capital request of $32,000 for a new pickup truck. Next is going to be our capital improvement sales tax, which is on page 165. So for this, it is funded using the voters of the parish approved the quarter-cent capital improvement sales tax to fund capital projects and debt service for the capital projects. The 2021 collections are estimated, that should be 2022 collections are estimated to be $6.4 million. We have a transfer to our capital improvement bond sinking fund for our annual bond requirements of $4,020,051. We always like to maintain a reasonable balance in this fund for future bond payments, so we usually keep 60 to 75% in the fund balance. We have a transfer to drainage fund for $1 million. This is going to be for some miscellaneous drainage projects. We have a transfer to capital projects control fund of $2,362,900. $959. And these capital projects include the district court repairs, the parking garage elevator, the parking garage security gates, our juvenile detention perimeter fence, the Bayou Country Sports Park baseball common areas, the Bayou Country Sports Park baseball concession, our Public Works administrative building. And we also have the transfer of $1 million to the road overlay project.
David will be happy.
On page 166, this is going to be your road lighting, your road district number 6. On November 7th, 2006, the voters of Ward 6 approved a .82 mils ad valorem tax, generating an estimated $39,514 for 2022. The street repairs in 2022 are proposed at $40,000. Next is going to be all of your different road lighting districts. And if you look on page 168, you can see the detail of all 10 of the road lighting districts and all of the authorized amounts to be levied, as well as what we have projected to collect based on the levy that y'all had passed in the ordinance earlier in the year. Next is your coastal restore bonds. This is on page 190, and there are no significant changes. Then on page 192 is the Terrebonne Levy and Conservation District. So in November 2001, the parish voters approved a quarter-cent sales tax dedicated to construction and maintaining the Morganza to the Gulf project collections, and it is estimated to be $6.4 million. The Levy and Conservation District can draw down $3,250,000 from this collection in 2022 for the Morganza to the Gulf project, and we will be transferring $3,643,610 for the bond sinking fund for the debt that is related to the Morganza to the Gulf project. Next, we have our criminal court fund, which is on page 195. We have fines and forfeiture revenue of $3,008,000 for 2022. We have a general fund supplement of $1,549,147, which is a decrease of $755,000. We have a juvenile detention supplement coming in for $250,000. And then we have the mental health and drug abuse fund supplement for $47,514.
Mr. Babin?
Can you just explain why the $755,871 decrease?
Yes, sir. So the American Rescue Plan money that came in, we were able to use it for our government services, and we did put some of that towards the district attorney's office.
Good, thank you.
I'm sorry, it went towards the criminal court fund, not the district attorney's office. And last but not least is going to be all of our grant funds. If you look on page 197, you'll see we have some supplements from CDBG. They supplement homeless shelter for $120,000, Head Start for $11,000. The general fund is going to supplement these programs. We have the homeless shelter for $18,400. We have the home investment partnership for $50,874. The Head Start program, $490,785. Rural transit, $12,188. And Section 8, which is $40,000. And we have each one of the different programs and different grants that we have in here highlighted. You'll see the personnel requirements or requests, but there have been no significant changes amongst all of those different grants.
Mr. Harding?
Yes, ma'am. Home investment partnership. Explain that, if you don't mind.
So I'm not going to explain that to you. I'm going to let Ms. Kelly Cunningham come and explain that one to you.
Can I ask a question before that? Do you mind?
To Ms. Malden?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead,
Should
Mr. Michaud.
I mean, we're talking about what, I don't know, $750,000 explained in the bottom of this page when there's $17 million of expenditures. I'm not quite sure. I mean, it just seems like a lot of difference there and explanation.
So I will tell you that what I'm explaining here at the bottom, the general fund supplements, is usually our local match for all of these different grants. If you look at the intergovernmental revenue of the 29.9 million, all of this mainly is covered through these grants, and the expenditures are in accordance to the grant requirements and what the grant allows us to spend them on.
So it's just, the bottom is pretty much our local match.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Cunningham.
Kelly Cunningham, Director of Housing and Human Services.
And Mr. Harding, you want to repeat your question?
The home, investment partnership, you only have 50,878,000.
For this particular grant, we're required to have a match, and that is the match to those funds. So that's just the general fund portion.
Okay, yeah, I was just trying to get into the fact that, you know what I mean, I thought that was the first time homeowners or something like that, you know what I mean?
Right now, the funds are being used for a tenant-based rental assistance program. So when we have folks that enter our homeless shelter, if they are working 30 hours a week, they can move into a rental assistance program with us because we're trying to promote self-sufficiency.
Yeah, and I guess I'm like Mr. Guidry, Mr. Babin, is that enough for as many people we need having on Terrebonne Parish that need assistance, you know what I mean?
Well, again, the parish is just required to provide, at this time, I think a 25% match. So that's the match to the federal money.
All right, well, thank you.
Mr. Babin, you have something?
When Ms. Malden was going over your section, she said we had no appreciable change, but we did have appreciable change this year. You took over from Mr. Darrell. So in any event, keep up the great work.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ms. Cunningham.
Okay, thank you.
And I think that's it. Any other questions?
Thanks,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Malden. Let's go ahead and go, follow the agenda. C, a resolution ratifying the appointment of the firm All South Engineers LLC to provide professional services for the Bayou Country Sports Park baseball concessions and authorizing the execution of an agreement for these services.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Danny Babin, seconded by Mr. John Amity. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Public wishing to address the council, I don't have any speaker cards. 6:30 public hearing. The proposed 2022 parish budget and 5-year capital outlay budget. Public once, public twice, third time public.
Motion to close.
I think we're
We
continuing
don't have to.
public
Motion to
hearing.
continue, excuse me.
Motion to continue public hearing, Mr. Babin, seconded by Mr. Guidry. Dirk Guidry, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Hearing is continued. Committee reports, Policy, Procedure, and Legal Committee, Mr. Gerald Michel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Policy, Procedure, and Legal Committee held on November 15th, 2021, and I have no public hearings.
Motion, Mr. Michel, seconded Mr. Dirk Guidry. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item B, Budget and Finance Committee, Mr. John Amity.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Budget and Finance Committee held on November 15th, 2021, and I have no public hearings.
Moved by Mr. Amity, seconded by Mr. Trosclair. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 4, appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions. Municipal Civil Service Board, 2 expiring terms on November 29th, 2021. Dr. Williams Thibodeau expresses his interest in being reappointed. Mr. Terry Dupre expresses his interest in being reappointed. Motion to open, close, and reappoint Mr. Dirk Guidry, second Mr. Steve Trosclair. Gerald Michel. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item B, Recreation District Number 10 Board, 1 expiring term on December 13th, 2021. Mr. Lord Poisson expresses his interest in being reappointed.
Open, close, and reappoint.
Motion to open, close, and reappoint by Mr. Danny Babin, seconded Mr. John Amity. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item C, Coastal Zone Management, 3 expiring terms on October 31st, 2021. 1 representing the public, 1 representing recreational fishing, and 1 representing property owners. Mr. Matthew Benoit, representing property owners, expresses his interest in being reappointed. Mr. Barry Soudier, representing recreational fishing, expresses his interest in being reappointed. Motion to open, close, and reappoint Mr. Benoit and Mr. Soudier and hold the other over, seconded by Mr. Danny Babin. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 5, vacancies to various boards, committees, and commissions coming up. Veterans Memorial District, 1 unexpired term due to resignation, 1 expiring terms on September 17th, 2021, representing the Vietnam Veterans of America. Recreation District number 2-3, 1 unexpired term due to resignation. Concerning Recreation District 2-3, go ahead, Mr. Michaud.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Mr. Chris Chesson for his service to that Recreation District and his leadership to Recreation District 2-3 and to Recreation in Terrebonne Parish.
Recreation District number 3A, 1 expired term and 1 unexpired term due to resignation. Recreation District number 6, 1 expiring term. Recreation District number 7, 1 expiring term on October 24th, 2021. Bayou Blue Fire Protection District, 1 expired term. Terrebonne Parish Tree Board, 1 vacancy due to a resignation. Children and Youth Services Board, 1 expiring term on November 1st, 2021, 1 representing City Court. TITA, 2 expiring terms on September 9th, 2021, 1 representing each of the following: the Terrebonne Parish Council and the Homa Terrebonne Chamber of Commerce. Coastal Zone Management and Restoration, 1 expiring term on October 31st, 2021, representing the public. Homa Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, 2 expiring terms on December 31st, 2021, both representing civic nonprofit organizations. Planning Commission, 1 expiring term on November 1st, 2021, and the Hospital Service District Number 1 Board has 1 vacancy due to a resignation. Announcements. Council members?
Yeah.
Mr. Dirk Gidry?
Yeah, I'd just like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and I hope we have a great end of the year, so thank you.
Mr. Danny Babin?
Yeah, likewise, Mr. Guidry, about Thanksgiving, don't eat too much. But again, for the 3rd time, I'd like for us to see at our next council meeting on the Wednesday night that we see someone from Apton here so they can give us the explanation of the slowness in getting these campers out.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. And I would like to thank School Board President Greg Harding and also School Superintendent Philip Martin for allowing us to use their facility while our facility is being renovated post-storm. Not seeing any other announcements. Motion adjourned by Mr. Danny Babin. Seconded by Mr. Cole Harding. All in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.